Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime Hero, and my next Legend of Korra Book 3 Change episode commentary. This one's going to be for Book 3 Change Episode 2, Rebirth, K302. And yeah, I'm just going to get straight into the commentary this time. If you're kind of following along, kind of watching along with me, the way to sync up your episode with me is basically have your version of the episode ready to go just at the start of the episode. No intro this time, just ready to start with that opening scene where the new ship that they're going to go on kind of comes in. So no title card or anything, just straight in with the opening shot of the episode. Have that ready to go. I'm going to stop speaking now in a second, and when I start speaking again after that pause, hit play and you'll be synced up with my commentary track. So I'm going to stop speaking now, hit play when I start speaking again. Okay, so here we are with Rebirth, and we see straight away our opening shot is obviously the arrival of our new airship that Asami has obviously made for the group to go around the world finding new airbenders, and it's a really nice looking ship, definitely is. We don't get to see it a lot over the course of the book though, it's not like as used as maybe you would think it is, but still, pretty nice looking ship, you know, just Sammy really went all out for this new airbender finding ship, basically. And yeah, we basically just get who's going with the group, that Iki, Milo, Kaya, Pema are going to stay at home, watch over the Air Temple Island, while everyone else goes. So obviously that means Janora has effectively been promoted to the main cast for this book, effectively, which works out really well for her. In many ways, I'd say Janora has probably the best character arc of this book, in a way, becoming a master airbender at the end. It's really well done, because, you know, Korra doesn't have the most character full arc this time around in terms of having actual development, so it's interesting that Janora kind of fills that role. And yeah, we see that Mako has some help to give them, but isn't initially actually going to go with them, which is interesting. But Korra actually wants him to go because she still thinks of him as a really close friend, but he's kind of awkward and kind of doesn't want to go. And yeah, I just kind of like this scene because it just really kind of shows, you know, Korra really cares about Mako still, because he is a member of Team Avatar, and she wants him with her on this journey because she knows how useful he can be, and then, you know, obviously he still has his issues with Asami and Korra. And yeah, addressing the issue here that the two of them want to go, and they're jealous that Janora gets to go, but kind of saving the day here is saying that, you know, they're going to effectively be helping new airbenders, you know, be masters of their own, I suppose, helping new airbenders, which works out pretty well. You know, they get a few scenes with, like, Zahir, but overall, they're definitely not the most used characters in the book. This, on the other hand, is a really good scene, straight away kind of setting up this idea that's been addressed early on in the book. Like, Bolin in the first episode mentioned being so happy being around a family with Tenzin and his family and stuff like that. And now in this episode, in this scene here, we get Bolin trying to convince Mako to go, and then he brings up the grandmother and, like, what if, but, you know, Boston say that's where we're heading, basically. What if we go there and we find our family, we know they live there, and what if the grandmother wants to meet you but you weren't there, and then she dies because she's so upset that you weren't there. It's an interesting idea that Bolin basically guilts Mako into coming, but overall it's just complete setup for this family kind of arc that the two have over the course of this book. You have Mako kind of gradually coming back into the group and becoming more comfortable being with the group again, and the two of them overall just meeting their family for the first time in their lives, basically, because obviously they've been orphans for so long. They've been the characters that they've only had each other for family, so really interesting dynamic there. Nice map of the Avatar world there, with some interesting points, kind of giving us a hint as to some of the locations. And yeah, it's nice to just see Tenzin and Korra both so really happy just about doing something together, that they're both going around the Earth Kingdom, finding these new airbenders, and bringing back this nation that's been effectively gone for so long, and they're just, it means so much to them that Korra is getting to do something so big, and for Tenzin, just his people are coming back. It's really powerful moment. And then the other side of things, we have this kind of really kind of early kind of build of the kind of Red Lotus, seeing them all escape. So the hero arrives here to break out Gazan, and yeah, not much to say about Gazan because we don't really learn a lot about him over the course of the book, which for me definitely, like, the way Gazan, Minghua, and Pali are treated in this book is probably one of the biggest complaints I have with any book of Avatar overall, just because 3 of our 4 villains are barely characters, because Gazan here, really interesting design, super interesting powers. What do we know about him? That, like, he may have had a mustache when he was young, he may have been raised only by his sister, and possibly has a crush on Minghua. It's literally one line of dialogue in a later scene when they have Bolin captured, gives us everything we know about Gazan as a character. Like, look at those interesting tattoos he has here, and then they're covered up for the rest of the book. Like, no explanation about, like, what Earth Kingdom town he's from, how he, as like one of the first lava bender we've seen, really, pretty much, apart from some of the avatars using it, how did he learn the skill and stuff like that. So many interesting questions about this guy, none of them answered, and he's just a member of the Red Lotus. He's cool in terms of his powers, and works overall as part of that team, but as a character, not so much. And this is an interesting scene here, just the way this plays out, in that you have Tenzin just assuming so much of the people he's going to come into contact with, that these are Earth Kingdom citizens who, some of them have just suddenly realized that they have these skills and they're getting reports of them. They really have no idea that Tenzin and this group is coming, but Tenzin just assumes that he's going to say, I'm a master airbender, the reason you have airbending now, I'm going to explain to you, is because of harmonic convergence. Come with me, I'll teach you, you'll become a monk and stuff like that. I think they can, to some extent, maybe understand, like, oh, he's coming to give us basically a quick crash course on how to control our airbending. He's going to leave, I can go on with my lives, I have a general idea how to just not let my airbending go out of control. But he goes completely overboard, Tenzin here, and just, like, these people who have families, who just, like, come away from your family to become a monk with us. Like, you really see how the lack of thought that actually Tenzin and Korra put into these situations, that some of the people that they're targeting are just, like, they're targeting them in the wrong way. Like, there was a way to approach this situation that was good, and that was to, like, realize that, okay, he's not going to be a monk, he's going to be just a guy who has airbending, and maybe wants to control it a little bit, as I said, but obviously, they just end up kind of pushing it, and getting rejected. I'm now actually really interested to see where these new airbenders go. Like, even by the time, like, by the end of the show, like, we don't have any idea about these airbenders who didn't join up, what their airbending is like. Like, if there is a new series, I'd actually like to see, like, is there actually, like, this separate group of airbenders who aren't air nomads, but were formed by their harmonic convergence. And, yeah, Tenzin thinks, okay, one down, I'll really show people the good side of being a monk, and it ends up doing the complete opposite, in that of all of the nations, really, like, airbender culture is number one on the list of these kind of more oddball things compared to most of the other cultures, in that they're very specific about what they have to do. Like, they have to be a vegetarian, they have to wear specific clothes, they kind of have to eventually get a bison as a pet. The men, have to shave their heads, the women have to shave, like, their foreheads. When they become a master, they have to get these tattoos. Compared to, like, the worst thing that the Water Tribe has is there's maybe, like, this inequality between men and women, but with Eska as, like, one of the princesses up there, with Eska and Desna basically ruling, that seems to be pretty much gone, but, airbending, just some of the things about their culture are definitely a bit kind of like crazy to some people, just these normal people, which Earth Kingdom probably the most normal of all the kind of cultures that we kind of see in the show. And yeah, we see here Maria Bamford, who voices Pema, also voicing Ryu's mother here. And then we get introduced to Ryu, who obviously is the character design is based off the one of the kind of executive producers slash directors on the opening book of Korra, Ryu Ki-hyun. He worked on Avatar as an animator and works on all of Korra as this kind of like just executive producer. He's one of the big people working on the show, and this is basically him in Korra style. And voiced by John Hader. I don't really know how to pronounce the name that way as well. Sorry, but yeah, interesting character. You know, I don't find him as funny as some people, but I like that he has a little role in the show. That he's this guy who doesn't want to do anything. To Korra, that's the worst thing ever. And we see just Korra's approach here. Tenzin tried to kind of convince people over just by telling them the good things that you can get from being an air nomad, and she's kind of more forceful with this guy, just like all of this stuff, and he's pretty annoying. Like just the idea that's like, you're the Avatar, you don't have to do anything, and Korra's like, I kind of do. It's important. Yeah, not really much else to say about this scene. It's just like it's primarily there for humor and just to show that Korra's overly aggressive approach isn't going to work either, and that they really need a way to kind of get airbending across without scaring people away with some of the more weirder customs that they have, or being overly forceful, and just kind of like, if you're an airbender, look at what we can teach you to do. Join us. We'll slowly, gradually incorporate you into this, and maybe you'll actually want to do all these kind of cultural things and stuff like that. So we later see that actually happen with kind of Bolin getting to kind of take over the show, which is an interesting role for him. But yeah, next we have the third member of the Red Lotus, Minghua, a waterbender who has no arms. Again, never stated in the show why she doesn't have arms, but I think Mike and Brian have said in like interviews and stuff like that, it's like that she was born with it. It wasn't like that there was an accident where she lost her arms. That was the way she was born. And again, what an interesting story there is to explaining how she learned how to waterbend. Like, just like not having arms, like how did she first discover she was a waterbender in the first place? Like, did she waterbend using her legs or what? Or was it this kind of really kind of tough-like moment where she just kind of discovered randomly she could waterbend, and it kind of helped her in her youth to actually kind of have hands of her own, and then she developed this skill better to the point where she's just as able as anybody, because when she has water with her, that she basically has arms that can do anything. Super interesting idea that just a little focus on all of these characters' backstories would have done wonders, but not really approached here. Gazan, Minghua, Pali don't get a lot of dialogue, but amazing action scene back there, obviously. That was one thing I didn't get to, but really, she's got a really cool waterbending style because her whole arms are water. It's just great character design as well. And yeah, Boomy and Bolin come up with the street performance idea, which is actually perfect, and this whole scene coming up is basically one of my favourite scenes of Book 3, basically. It's hilarious, gets across airbending well to us as the audience and the people there. It's just really funny. And yeah, Bolin, he has that fake mustache that he had back in Book 1. He just brought it with him on this trick. And he's showing his kind of acting chops here, that when something is required, like you need an announcer or something like that, Bolin can do it. That it wasn't just this random thing where he became this mover star, that he actually has that ability to kind of do these things pretty well. Sure, mention obviously to shirtless Tenzin, why he had to go shirtless in this scene, no idea. Like, really no idea. If he wasn't big into the idea, why did he go all out? But showing his signature airbending technique, the air cycle, really cool. And then, yeah, they really turned the demonstration into a whole showcase here with kind of audience interaction. You know, putting Mako in the audience. He's a firebender, and he's just not into the idea at all. He's just like, okay, this is the script. I'll say it. Don't go easy on me. Don't like hurt me. It's just a funny scene, and then Korra gets to come in and show how awesome her airbending is. And obviously have that moment where she and Asami can just kind of have fun with him, kind of referencing the whole issues from last book, though really, blaming it all on Mako is not the best. I've seen people use that as a Korra-Asami kind of setup scene, but like, as I said, to me that's more just the two of them making fun of Mako rather than like, oh, look, we're in a relationship together. It's just like they're friends. They're making fun of their ex-boyfriend. Like that Janora had the kind of glider moment there, showing that even the young kids that are airbenders can do really amazing things. And that Boomy, with only a few days of instruction, can do some solid airbending. And people are interested, and who shows up? Kai. And one of my biggest positives about all of Book 3 is definitely the new characters introduced. Kai here, later when we get introduced to Opal and the other Beifongs. There's some really cool new characters introduced in Book 3 that continue into Book 4, and I really just kind of, like, Kai here has a really nice arc early on where, obviously, as we find out, he's a kind of, he's a bit of a kind of, more kind of, bold, more kind of a rogue-like Aang, I suppose, in a way, that he has very similar characteristics to Aang, but he's kind of more streetwise, like much more of a kind of prankster, a bit of a liar and stuff like that. So he has those Aang aspects just taken to that other kind of degree where he's a bit more kind of like, oh, like he's lying to people about like his backstory and stuff like that. And I suppose the interesting thing with Kai is that we don't actually know what happened to his parents. We assume that part of this story perhaps is true, that he did have to grow up on his own, but definitely the kind of part where he's explaining that, these people are after me for X reason, they're bandits instead of police officers, is one of those moments where you kind of go like, okay, I can see so much potential in this character, he's likable, but please stop lying, stop being, stop stealing and stuff like that. And he honestly is excited to be an airbender and stuff like that. It's a really kind of cool scene, and you really get with Kai this connection between the brothers and him, because Kai grew up on the streets. They kind of connect with that. Mako sees through him a bit more than Bolin, but you have the connection from both sides, which I really like. And here's obviously the quote-unquote bandits showing up, when in fact they are actually the police officers of this location, after Kai, because he's a thief and stuff like that. And just in general, like it's cool to see just random Earthbender guards in the book. It's really cool that that aren't just Order of White Lotus people or stuff like that. They're just, it kind of makes you feel like a lot more like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that we're visiting these Earth Kingdom locations, very reminiscent of Book 2 Earth and stuff like that. It's a really cool scene, and then just Korra showing how much more powerful she is than your average bender, even like your kind of head of police in a random town. She's so much more powerful than he is. It's just these little fights that don't really mean much just really get across the power very well. Here's the sheriff. And yeah, Korra's kind of like a bit upset that she put her faith in him and trusted him. They were going to take him on board as their first airbender, and now that kind of trust has been betrayed, and that he has this kind of sack of stuff that he stole from people. Mako catches him, and yeah, we find out he's the outlaw, and I think this is a really great scene from Korra here, actually. I really do. It's just the way she actually treats Kai here in this scene is that she's willing to give him a chance, that she buys into what he says here, even though this is probably a bit of a lie too, that airbending chose him for a reason, and that he can become a different person because of that. And as we see here, Korra about to step in. And even Tenzin questions this decision from Korra, but she sticks to it. And that she's confident that she and the rest of their group can guide him in the right direction. And ultimately, it is a good decision. Tenzin agrees that, in many ways, I suppose Tenzin kind of realizes this. In many ways, this is the perfect kind of first kind of new Airbender to have on the team. That if to prove that airbending really can change a person, that he does have potential to be a monk. I like that Mako's kind of going to keep an eye on Kai. Yeah. He can see straight through Kai, and that, it's something that you deal with Kai in these early episodes, and that as much as he said he's going to turn over a new leaf and all this sort of stuff, he keeps going back and stealing stuff and doesn't fully trust the group. And set up for, obviously, Kainora here, Jinora and Kai's relationship, pretty well explored in this book, not so much in book 4 as we'll get to as these commentaries progress, but yeah, interesting scene nonetheless. That they did that, just the fact that they went for this kind of more Avatar The Last Airbender style ship between younger characters. And here we have the debut of Zuko in Korra. Yeah, basically the Order of White Lotus just revealing to Zuko what happened with the Red Lotus escaping. He knows straight away with 3 of them out, the obvious place for them to go next is the Northern Water Tribe to get Pali out. And yeah, everyone just finding out that Zahir's an airbender, and just set up that, like, our heroes don't know yet that Zahir's an airbender, but Zuko does. And here's Zuko's dragon, Druk, who is confirmed to be a descendant of Ran and Shaw, the dragons that we see in Avatar The Last Airbender, still alive. Hasn't been confirmed if Druk is the ancient Sun Warrior artifact that is that golden egg that Zuko picks up. That hasn't been confirmed, but realistically, it makes complete sense that you can almost state that as canon right now, that egg that Zuko picks up in that episode is in fact the egg of the dragon Druk. It makes sense because he said when he picked it up it felt alive, they seemed very protective of it, so it would make sense that it is Ran and Shaw's, like, son, I assume, maybe, or something like that. But that's something I'd like to see explored a little bit more, just like, where does the dragon Druk come from? But it's just cool to see Zuko, and especially Zuko in action, that he is basically who the Order of the White Lotus report to, which is a nice connection to Avatar The Last Airbender. Iroh was effectively one of the leaders, the Grand Lotus in the Order of the White Lotus, and now Iroh's grandson Zuko is a high up in the Order of White Lotus effectively as well. Now, it's never stated specifically that he is a member, but just the fact that they report to him that as a former Fire Lord, he's still considered a lord, they report to him, and he's going to sort this out, like Zuko is on the case, this is going to be awesome, and, he's great while we get to see him, he actually really is, he has some really nice scenes over the course of this book. The problem with Zuko is probably just perhaps that he gets beaten early on in the book, the Order of White Lotus kind of disappear very early on, like basically next episode, they're just not in the rest of the book, and Zuko kind of ends up more or less having a similar kind of fate in the book. He just kind of like, at some point, just fades away. He comes back at the end, but isn't in it that much. But overall, it's a nice role for Zuko in this book. Kind of like Toph, she's in a few key episodes, does a few key things, but is never the main character. The focus is on the new characters, and he's just helping out, and playing the role that he naturally would play as an important character in the universe, because of what happened in the previous series. So, yep, that's the episode commentary for K302 Rebirth. Yeah, I'll have my next episode commentary for K303 out sometime this week. Again, as I said before, these episode commentaries are a little bit easier for me to record than normal videos, so they'll be coming out a bit more regularly than other series. But yeah, thanks for watching this video, and bye.